Hello and welcome to Drums and Wires, episode 4. I'm your host, Paul, otherwise known as Fuzzsyke, and today I want to take a crack at the Vinyl Tag 2025 that's been going around. It's a good way to introduce my channel and share with the rest of the vinyl community here. So let's get right on to the questions here. What it is, if you're not familiar with the Vinyl Tag, is just 20 questions about your collection. And then you come up with examples. So let's start off right away here. The first one is the best find of 2024, new or old. Well, I have to go with the box set that I introduced the whole channel with. The International Artists Limited Edition full discography box set. Only 1,000 of these made back in 1979, and it's full of psychedelic goodies, and I'm thoroughly enjoying going through it, and I'll probably never see another one of those. So I'm extremely happy to get that. Next question is 50 years on. Best album from 1974. Well, I did a Discog search for my 1974 albums, and I don't have a lot. But one that did come up and did stand out for me was Brian Eno. And this is, of course, Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy. This is my original Canadian version here. And I also have the half-speed mastered 45 RPM version that came out a couple of years ago. And it's such a brilliant album. It's avant-garde pop at its best. I would highly recommend checking this album out. It's my favorite album from 1974. Next question is album that defines a genre. Well, first thing I thought of was Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures. This defines post-punk and early goth for me. Post-punk would not be the same without this album. It's upside down. There we go. I bet you couldn't even tell at first, but it was upside down. Now we have it the right way up. It's a classic album. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. Next up is best band from the home country. Well, I'm from Canada, and I hate to focus in on one best band. There's so many great bands from Canada here, but I picked, for this purposes of this illustration, I picked Sloan and Twice Removed. This is my signed copy that I picked up at a Sloan show many years ago. And also, it's a clear vinyl copy. Even more interesting. Clear vinyl signed copy of Sloan Twice Removed is my choice for best Canadian album for the moment here. Artists you miss dearly. Well, there are a few, but though I couldn't help but do it. A lot of people are doing this one too, but David Bowie. This is his last album, Black Star, which is a brilliant album from start to finish. And I miss David Bowie. I remember I just bought this album the day it came out. My wife wakes me up the next day and says, David Bowie died. I said, it can't be. He gets released a new album. I miss David. Best favorite live album in your collection? Well, in this case, I have to go to my bootlegs. This is Elvis Costello Goes to Washington, and Dave Evans and Rockpile Don't. I love the Elvis three sides of this. I used to have it on tape when I was a kid, and I would play it nonstop. On my Walkman, walking down the road. I do love this. One of my favorite live albums of all time. Your partner gets dumped you. What album do you listen to? Well, for Crying in Your Beer, there's no better album than the Janis Ian's Between the Lines record. It is indeed a sad album full of personal doubt and angst, and if your partner has left you, that's probably where you're headed to there. Best drum sounds. This is a hard one. It wasn't best drummer or best drumming. It was best drum sound on an album. And I'm sure there's various jazz albums I could go through and try to pick it out. The one that came to mind was Comset Angels, Waiting for a Miracle. I just love the drum sound of this album. Always have. And this is also a stellar album from 1980 to 81. This would also be one of the other questions that comes up, which we'll get to in a minute. Your favorite artist is a member of two or more bands. Well, that was a no-brainer. I had to go for Kristen Hirsch. This is her solo album, Hips and Makers. It came out on Record Store Day a little while ago. But she was also a member of Throwing Muses and 50 Foot Wave. And I have a complete collection of Kristen Hirsch's stuff. Beatles or the Stones. No-brainer for me. I do like some Stones stuff. To me, they are like one of the luckiest bar bands in the world. To me, it has to be the Beatles. This is my original UK stereo pressing of the White Album. It's a top loader. It's a top loader with the black sleeves. It's not in the best of shape, but I'm just happy to have it. And it's a classic album. You found a bag of weed. What album do you put on? Well, I don't partake myself, but if I did, and I found a whole bag of weed, I probably want to join these people. Velvet Fog. They look like they are... I'm going to be careful with the cover here. I can't show too much, but you can guess what's going on down there. They look a little out of it. They found a couple of bags of weed and have taken care of it in no small order. This is an original Canadian pressing of this album. It is a fantastic psych album. It really is. Yellow Cave Woman being a favorite. Album from the 80s you still listen to. I still listen to a lot of albums in the 80s. The Comset Angels could have been an example. But the one I pulled out a little while ago and played again was Adam and the Ants, Kings of the Wild Frontier. This is a perfect pop album. And again, for drum sounds, this is another good one for drum sounds. I hadn't even thought of that until now. This will be another good one for drum sounds. Artist whose political leanings have soured you. Well, there's no one more political. I thought of going for Morrissey, but the thing is, I've always thought he was a bit of a pisshead, so I've never liked Morrissey, so he didn't sour me at all. I've never liked him. But I would have to go for Ted Nugent. Of course, was in the Amboy Dukes back in the 60s. I'm not a big fan of Ted's solo stuff, but the Amboy Dukes albums are fantastic, and this is a great psych album. It's got Journey to the Center of Your Mind. And of course, one of the most psych titles of all time, Why is a Carrot More Orange Than an Orange? Show your favorite label. Another find I had this year that I've really been enjoying is this CD box set from the Brain label. Brain were a German label from 72 to 79. They did a lot of krautrock, progressive, jazz rock stuff. I also have albums on it. This is Jane on Brain. I'm not sure what year this is. This is the late 60s, I believe. Yeah, Brain's one of my favorite labels. Perfect run of 3 singles. Well, I don't have a lot of runs of singles, but I did go for this run here because I do enjoy this band a heck of a lot. We got the Jesus and Mary Chain. So you've got April Skies, Darklands, and Happy When It Rains, all from the Darklands LP. What a great album that was, and what a great series of singles that is. A release from Record Store Day you still listen to? Well, that's a good question, because I do have quite a few Record Store Day releases. But you're right, a lot of them are mostly archival. They're live albums or demos and stuff, so you don't get back to them too often. But I do find myself diving into the Lush box that I picked up a few years. This is the pizza box, which not all copies came with it. Inside is the actual box set. Let me pull that out here. Inside is the actual box set, which contains all of their albums. All on different colored vinyls. This is what I do get back to on a fairly regular basis. If you could be reincarnated as any artist, who would it be? Well, I'm going to cheat here. I don't want to come back as any musical artist. I've always wanted to be John Peel. John Peel, the legendary British DJ, who used to have bands in for his sessions. He would do live sessions on the radio. His taste was always impeccable. He had the most amazing record collection. And he was just, I guess, always wanted to be him. I don't have any albums by John Peel, although he did do the liner notes on that Velvet Fog album. But I do have a Festive 15 collection of his on CD. Best 3 lines in a song. I have to go for Lou Reed for this. Lou Reed is a great songwriter. I'm sure you're all familiar with Lou at this point. But the lines from Perfect Day always got me. You made me forget myself. I thought I was someone else. Someone good. Just gets me every time. The Lou Reed Transformer. Boom. And that was Perfect Day. And the last question about the vinyl is album you never tire of. Well, Pretty Green Vinyl guy who did the original one picked the same album as me, but I was thinking of changing it, but I couldn't. It's The Clash, London Calling. I've loved this album since it came out. I've had it on various formats, and still do, in fact. And I never get tired of this. It's not a bad song on here. The production sounds like the band is in the room with you. It's just an incredible album, and came out in 1979, and it still holds up today. It is, if you haven't heard this album yet, if you don't listen to any of the other albums on this list, check this album out. It is a classic. And the last question was, share your favorite VC channel. Well, I don't like playing favorites. I have a lot of vinyl community channels that I do enjoy. I do want to give a shout out to Dylan over at Noble Records, who's one of the main reasons I'm doing this nowadays. Robert Fithen, the Omaha Introvert, and Soren. I've been enjoying Soren's channel as of late. So thank you very much. I hope this was enjoyable. And I'm throwing my hat in the ring with the Vinyl Tag 2025. Catch you all next time. Bye-bye.